And everybody, let's talk about crashes in mods, causes of crashes, who should go to for help, how you can fix things, and what the mod maker can do for you, and why, and when he can't do anything for you. First of all, let's start by establishing that everybody has to be on the same version of the game. That's important, right? Because we can't be supporting several versions of the game because somebody didn't upgrade or couldn't upgrade. They just can't do it, right? It's impossible. If you think of it this way, right? When you've got 1 million downloads and only 10% of those people are having problems, that's 100,000 people having problems with a mod. There's no way one person can support 100,000 people when they're all running different versions of the game. It's just not possible. You have to be on the latest version. Second, if you're running a pirate copy of the game, you're automatically not on the same version that everybody else is on. It's extremely difficult for anybody to support you, both legally and actually, right? Plus, if you start saying, I've got a pirate copy of the game, blah, 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 all you're going to do is get the person who's trying to help you, or the person who made the mod, you get his channel blocked or banned. You're not doing that person any favour. In fact, it's a hostile act to go on their site or their forum and start talking about pirate copies, because you're automatically undermining all the work they put into whatever they're doing. So you won't be seen as a friend, right? You just will not be seen as a friend. So yeah, anyway. Right, now we've established a pirate copy is not the current version, right, because it's been modified by external factors. Let's move on. Now the reason why people come to modders for support is because when you install a mod and get problems, the mod modified the game, so you go back to the person who modified the game and say, how can this happen? Just how can the mod change the game to make this bug happen? If you're not using the same version of the game as me, like using a pirate copy, then you have to go back to the person who pirated the game and say the same thing to him. Only as we know, the pirates aren't exactly going to be there to support you. So you're swinging in the wind, no support available from anybody. It's what it goes with the territory. You pirate the game, you got no support. Right? It ends there. Move on, get a different game. If you've got a legitimate copy of the game and you're running the current version, and I say legitimate and current version because a legitimate version is a version that hasn't been modified by a third party, right? Then you've got the baseline I need to start helping you, right? From that point on, we stand a chance of identifying the issue. Now, you've got to go from the point of view where everybody's computer system is different. We can't change that. That's something we have to work with, right? So we've got the standard version of the game installed across the board. But everybody's computer system is different. They may have faulty hardware. They may not have updated drivers. Pardon me. They may have a number of other problems. Your drivers could be years old, right? That could be a simple fix, update your drivers. So these are all things I, as a mod maker, expect you to have done first before you come to me. Is update all your drivers, including your motherboard drivers, and make sure everything is working correctly and your system has no known issues, because known issues can be a sign your computer's failing, right? And you can ignore it if you want, but one day you won't have a computer. So anyway, identify the issues on your computer. Try and keep your own system as stable as possible. If it's crashing out, find out why it's crashing out and fix it. Because in my game, one of the reasons why I stopped doing the Skyrim SE playthrough because of the crashes was because how do I know when a crash is related to my mod or the game? If it's crashing because of the game, I'm never going to know the difference. When I was modding just Skyrim, my game was rock solid, stable. It's more or less the same with Oblivion. It had a few known issues related to screen flipping. You know, it would freeze and lock you out of your system sometimes. But other than that, it was rock solid stable. If any crash happened, it was my fault and I knew it. Right? And I could pin it down because of my knowledge of the game and how it works. I could pin it down quite easily. So you've got to give yourself a fighting chance of getting help. And it starts by having the same version as the person who's making the mod, which is usually the current version, and all your drivers up to date, and any known issues on your system, any crashes that, because basically computers shouldn't crash. They should not ever crash. If your computer's shutting down as blue screens, you've got problems, right? Just accept that, try and fix that first. Then move on to the game. From the game point of view, mods some people think mods will work together if you force it hard enough. Instant crash right there, right? That's a stupid thing to do. Don't do it, right? Two mods, say two Helgen mods, don't run them both together. It's an obvious conflict, right? Install one Helgen mod. If you don't like it, take it out, install the other Helgen mod. That's how it works, right? Do not try and run two mods that edit the same thing together. I don't care what people say about bashing and patching and load orders, it's not a good idea. Right? This is one of the reasons why my game's so stable. I do not do that. It's a simple rule of thumb I follow because I know how the system works. And the system works by, imagine this, right? You've got a guy called Jack at the top, right? Right here. Now, on your first mod, Jack is wearing a blue shirt. The next mod down edits Jack, gives him a green shirt. The knife he's carrying is gone because he has edited Jack. Only this version works now. Next mod down, right, changes his stats. Right? He's still got the red shirt, but that mod is no longer used anymore. It's this mod. It's that kind of thing. Last one loaded, change. Now, if you know what you're doing, and most people who claim to know what they're doing don't, right? Let's just establish this at first. All these experts are not fucking experts. I've talked to them, I've argued with them, I've been flamed by them for decades. And I've proven beyond doubt, time and time again, just like you do with Brexiteers, that these are the facts, that's how it works. These are your fantasies, that's how it doesn't work, and they stick with the fantasies. It's like a religion. Same as Brexit, it's like a religion, right? So the way things work, things override each other. That's the very nature of the Elder Scrolls modding system, right? Things override each other. Now, there are ways, this is how I got CUO to work, right? This is the secret behind me doing some impossible things that everybody said couldn't be done in CUO. It's knowing exactly which items would override which item if you put certain things together, right? I mean, how did I get the Knights of the Nine Armour to appear in Return to Helgen when it wasn't even in Return to Helgen? It's because I faked the mod in Return to Helgen and told people to put the actual mod, Matty's Knights of the Nine Armour, after it. I created a deliberate conflict and I let Matty's mod conflict with mine in a positive way. Right? So Matty's armour would go, oh look, he's already got this armour installed, let's replace it. So Jack changed his colour of his shirt. It's that trick, that's what I did. Right? Now I can do that because I learned how to mod the game, do it properly. Right? I didn't take any shortcuts, I didn't try and bash and patch and make messy mods, I actually learned to do it properly. So I knew the ins and outs of the game better than most people. I used it in Oblivion, I've used it in Skyrim, I think I haven't really had to use it in Fallout to be honest, but anyhow it's been used heavily by me. So I know the system, I know how it works, and it is actually possible to get some mods to just influence one small section of another mod if you know exactly how the game works. But to do that you have to be a mod maker. You can't do that simply by making a tool, you can't do that simply by making patches, you have to be an experienced mod maker to know how these things work. And you have to mod all aspects of the game, not just one small area to do with characters or whatever else. You have to know how it all fits together. You have to be an expert in all of the areas, not just one small area. So if a person only makes companions, they might be very good at doing companions, but they won't know all the tricks. Don't get me wrong, if you're making companions, everything you need is in a self-contained character, so it's not hard to be a specialist in companions. That's why some of them are pretty good, to be honest, because it is a very narrow field. If you can get started, actually, it's a good area to start modding in. But anyway, these overriding things, this causes a lot of crashes, right? I mean, I can identify, I know, for example, when I see Skyrim crashing, that it's a level list problem. I know. I can see I'm running on. They've changed the level list to add all kinds of junk to it, right, with all these new additions. And this is what's causing the crashes. I could fix it. I could release a patch and fix every single bug they've got what's related to that, right? So it's because I did it once before in Oblivion. In fact, there's still a few issues in some of the Oblivion things related to the Daedra, right? Because they're spawning with the wrong items. And that tells me that level list is wrong. It's got bugs in it. right? So I can go to that straight down there, fix, jobs are good. I just can't be bothered. Yeah, I'm honest, right? But anyway, I can fix these issues because I know what's causing it. Bethesda, who made the game, should know what's causing it because they made the game. It's level list issues. But the thing is, these random crashes, right? It's just, I mean, why should I fix Bethesda's bugs? Anyway, Bethesda, when they released this thing and they edited it, they started stuff into level lists. The level lists spawn randomly. That gives you the random crashes. So you might go into a room one day, it's fine. Go into the same room the next day, it crashes because the items on the NPC have changed. It's taken an errored item. So when you bash and patch and change your game around, right, you're basically making that level list more random. Nobody could possibly predict what the hell's going to happen in your game at that point. This is why you test mods individually, right? Because if you've bashed and patched and had these games randomly change the mod at the top to have random things below it, you know, like the Jack example, right? Then suddenly you're asking people to use their mystic Jedi powers to figure out what the fuck you've done to your game. And it's just not possible. All the goodwill in the world will not allow them to understand what the hell's gone on in your game. And anybody that thinks they can is just kidding themselves and lying to you. So you've got to narrow it down a bit. You've got to take it back piece by piece back to one mod, one game. You start with the same version of the game with one mod in it, right? You go into that location. If you have to, do a verified data on Steam to make sure the game isn't corrupt. So you start with a baseline everybody can work with. Have your drivers up to date as much as possible. That gives you a fighting chance of having somebody be able to say, yes, I've got that issue too. That's assuming they've got the same version. But remember, 10% of a million is still 100,000 people. But it's still a minority. 90% of the people having no issues whatsoever. So don't think loads and loads of comments on a popular mod means anything, because it doesn't. Right? But always start with the bog standard version of the game and the single mod installed, no special changes, and go from there. Just remember as well, the last mod installed might trigger a crash, but it doesn't mean it caused it. You could have the first mod you installed ever might have a problem, and the second you install a mod that conflicts with it, the problem is revealed and it causes the crashes. So when you think this mod is causing the crashes, you're wrong. It's actually the first one you installed caused the crashes, for the very reasons I've explained in this video. Anyway, I hope this helps and allows you to see things from the other side of the fence, right? You have to start with the same version of everybody else. That means you actually have to buy the game. Because if you're using a pirate copy, you're not using the same version I'm using. And there's no way I can run tests on my system to match your system, even if you paid me £1 billion to do it, right? Because on my system, I'm running a legitimate copy of the game, and all tests are done with the latest version of a legitimate copy of the game. Everything else can be fixed. Everything else you can work with. You can update your drivers on your computer, you can check for hardware errors, you can do all kinds of things. We can deal with all of that. But if the base game version is different, all bets are off. See you in the next one.